Let's talk about USA basketball. Did a video yesterday afternoon late that Caitlin Clark is among a number of participants that's headed to the senior training camp for Team USA. Now, I would assume, right? Oh, they've learned all kinds of lessons after failing to put Caitlin Clark on Team USA during the Olympics.
The shockwaves just exploded across the league, completely destroying any idea that things were getting better. Right when fans were celebrating the news that Caitlin Clark got invited to the senior training camp, a brand new graphic dropped, supposedly a welcome message from Team USA. But the face people saw wasn't the one they were looking for. The single most important, game-changing athlete in women's basketball today was nowhere to be found, and it was obviously on purpose. This was a deliberate snub that felt like a public slap in the face, kicking off a massive firestorm of controversy and leaving her supporters absolutely furious over the blatant disrespect. You have to understand, this wasn't some simple mistake. It was a loud and clear message, and the fact that official channels said nothing made it even louder.
USA. Now, I would assume, right? Oh, they've learned all kinds of lessons after failing to put Caitlin Clark on Team USA during the Olympics. By the way, of which the guy that runs the 2028 Olympics, he come out and said he thought it was a terrible idea leaving her off the team. Adam Silver said, hey, I think this was an opportunity that they could have had to have grown women's sports. Something that I and many other Caitlin Clark fans also said. Do you want to grow the sport? Do you want to...
And here's the thing. This is not the first time this has happened. People still have the bitter memory of the Olympic roster disaster, where Clark was shockingly left off the team even though there was a huge public outcry. It seems a lot of people foolishly thought that USA basketball had actually learned something from that massive mistake. But nope, here we are again, watching them make another mind-boggling decision that shoves the growth of women's sports to the side. The pattern here is impossible to deny. It's like Caitlin Clark's incredible popularity is some kind of problem for them, instead of the golden opportunity it really is. This is a strategic screw-up that is costing the sport big time, confusing both fans and critics.
Own women's sports, something that I and many other Caitlin Clark fans also said. Do you want to grow the sport? Do you want to... I said NBC should have been furious that she was not on the Olympic team. They would have shattered, they might have shattered potentially basketball, actual Olympic basketball records, maybe outside of the old Dream Team kind of records, right? Back when television ratings in general were just higher because there was no streaming services, yada, yada, yada. But you get my point. It'd have been a huge rating.
Even the biggest names in sports were calling out the first Olympic snub. Get this, the head of the 2028 Olympics, a guy whose entire job is to get as much global attention as possible, went on record saying it was a horrible idea to leave Clark off the team. The NBA commissioner himself, Adam Silver, said the exact same thing, pointing out it was a huge missed opportunity to grow the reach of women's basketball in a massive way. These aren't just random opinions, you know? These are serious criticisms coming from the highest levels of professional sports, and it just shows how completely out of touch USA basketball's decision-making is. The message from the top was crystal clear, but they just completely ignored it.
Huge rating. Instead, they continue to treat Caitlin Clark like she's a leper. What are we doing? What are we doing? The WNBA, Team USA, I don't understand. When I did my video last night, I had not seen this. I had not seen this. Shit, I got up this morning and I've seen it now. And we'll get to the reaction. By the way, heads up, Christine Brennan's the one that really caught my eye on this. And, you know, just to put it out there.
Just try to imagine the absolute fury at NBC, or at least the frustration they should have been feeling. If Clark had been on that Olympic team, the TV ratings could have completely smashed all previous records, maybe even getting close to the numbers the legendary Dream Team pulled in, especially with how media works today. But instead, that once-in-a-lifetime chance was just thrown away. All that potential for unbelievable viewership numbers was just left sitting on the table. This wasn't just about a win for women's basketball. It was a guaranteed ratings bonanza for the networks. We're talking about a massive financial and cultural boost that was rejected on purpose. That kind of short-sighted thinking is unbelievable, costing them millions of dollars in potential money and exposure.
Would have had added the photo of one other player to this graphic, but no. I'm gonna keep it real. She's the only player I'd have put on that graphic. The only player. I mean, at some point, this women's basketball has got to quit worrying about hurting people's little feelings. Siri, do you want to grow or do you not want to grow? I mean, you put Kaylee Copper, okay, Kelsey Plum, and I'm guessing this is probably Chelsea Gray, right?
The thing that really set fans off this time was a post from the respected sports journalist Christine Brennan. She very smartly pointed out that if USA Basketball was serious about promoting the sport and bringing in new fans, they obviously would have put Caitlin Clark front and center on all their promotional material. Her take was simple but absolutely brutal, and it went viral, getting over 250,000 views and forcing USA Basketball to go on the defense. It was a crystal clear example of how the public could see right through the organization's weak attempts to look like they were trying to engage people, revealing the massive gap between what they claim their mission is and what they actually do.
Guard than Caitlin Clark. And I paid attention then long enough to throw up in a bucket. I mean, this is nuts. USA women's basketball is back. 18 athletes will attend December 12th through the 14th, Durham, North Carolina. By the way, you want to know one reason why the ratings were down for the last Olympics on women's basketball? People boycotted it because Caitlin Clark wasn't named to the team.
Let's be real, the graphic they posted said it all. While it had other great players on it like Kelsey Plum and Chelsea Gray, it was missing the one athlete who has, without a doubt, become the face of the entire sport. The feeling all over social media was obvious. Who are these other players? Now, this has nothing to do with disrespecting other athletes. It's all about recognizing a global superstar. USA Basketball seems dead set on putting its internal politics ahead of basic business sense, flat out refusing to feature the most recognizable and marketable player they have. It's a completely baffling strategy that is actively harming their own stated goals.
Oh, people boycotted it because Caitlin Clark wasn't named to the team. I remember. That was a huge story on this channel. A huge story. So, a lot of people noticed Christine's post. It got over 250,000 views. And it looks to me like that USA Basketball chose to leave the conversation.
And look, the first Olympic snub had real, measurable effects. A lot of fans straight up boycotted women's basketball games. The viewership numbers for those events completely tanked, which was a direct and undeniable consequence of Clark not being on the team. This wasn't just people complaining online, it was a coordinated action from a massive fan base. The message was sent loud and clear back then. Yet it seems like USA Basketball deliberately chose to ignore the hard data. So now, with this latest insult, the possibility of alienating even more fans and seeing ratings drop even further is a huge threat. It's like they are determined to repeat their past failures, no matter the cost.
He failed to grow women's basketball at the 2024 Olympics. This is a continuing story. They learned nothing. They learned nothing. They are still fighting the CC motion with everything they have. Did I watch the last Olympics without CC? Nope. Will I watch this team with CC? Yes. I'm not the only one. You're not the only one.
I know, it's crazy. The public anger got so intense that USA Basketball started quietly deleting their own social media posts that had the controversial graphic. The main post is still up, but it's getting absolutely buried by negative comments and an avalanche of criticism. This quick retreat, even though it's not a direct apology, says everything. It shows they know a storm is brewing and they're desperately and clumsily trying to control the story. But in today's world of instant information and viral outrage, moves like that just make the original insult seem even worse, digging the organization into an even deeper hole. For decades, the entire mission for groups like USA Basketball has been simple: win medals and grow the sport. But by constantly pushing their biggest star to the side, USA Basketball has completely failed on that second part of their job. Sure, they're winning medals, but they're doing it at the expense of growing their audience and making sure the sport has a future. This ongoing failure isn't just a missed opportunity, it's a deliberate sabotage of the sport's potential, choosing their own internal preferences over what the public clearly wants. The long-term damage to the sport's growth is becoming more obvious every day. This isn't just one incident, it's a long-running story of resistance. It really seems like USA Basketball is still fighting the Caitlin Clark movement with every fiber of their being, actively pushing against public opinion and the undeniable impact she's had. There is a deep-seated opposition, a stubborn refusal to embrace the one player who has completely changed the game's landscape. This hostile attitude, treating a rising superstar like a problem instead of a gift, is just baffling and incredibly damaging to the sport's image. Why they keep doing this is a total mystery. The strange choices even apply to veteran players. Sources have pointed to Diana Taurasi's dinosaur ass being put on a previous Olympic team, only for her to get DNPs, did not play. This highlights a clear preference for older, established stars over new, dynamic players who actually drive audiences. While you have to respect veterans, choosing sentimentality over current impact and future growth points to a much bigger issue. It's a perfect example of questionable roster choices that seem to favor internal loyalties over both performance and marketability, which just makes fans even more frustrated. The criticism against USA Basketball sometimes goes into really uncomfortable places, with some people suggesting a here double standard against Clark. You see comments about her being too white or not checking the boxes, which hints at some underlying biases in their decision-making. While we can't know if those claims are true, the fact that people believe them creates huge divisions and distrust among the fans. It suggests that things like merit and popularity are less important than some other secret criteria, which just destroys the fairness and transparency of the whole selection process. Accusations like that, true or not, are incredibly destructive to the sport's integrity. No matter what internal politics are going on, Caitlin Clark is, without a doubt, the most global women's basketball player on the planet. Her influence crosses borders and demographics, bringing in unprecedented attention from people who never watched the sport before. To ignore that incredible global appeal, especially in an international event like the Olympics, is to willingly sabotage the worldwide growth of women's basketball. Her presence is a universal attraction, a magnet for new fans, which makes leaving her off any promotional material or final team a massive self-inflicted wound for the sport. There's a powerful perception that the WNBA, internally and from the very top, still cannot handle the fact that the main reason people are watching the league is Caitlin Clark. This internal resentment, if it's real, suggests a culture of jealousy and resistance to the hard truth that one single player is now bigger than all the others in terms of star power. That's a tough pill for some people to swallow, and it leads to what many believe are spiteful decisions that are actually hurting the league's overall success. This kind of internal conflict is like a cancer eating away at the sport's potential from the inside. The feeling that angry, spiteful, and resentful people inside the league are choosing non-marketable or less relatable players over Clark's massive appeal is a tough but common criticism. This view suggests there's a hidden agenda where certain boxes have to be checked that have nothing to do with pure talent or the ability to draw a crowd. While you have to be careful with that kind of language, the consistent pattern of sidelining Clark, despite her undeniable impact, makes many people think there are other motives at play that are holding back the sport's real growth. It's a perception that just gets worse over time, creating deep mistrust. The new coach, who might be smiling on the outside and seem friendly, is widely thought to be incredibly jealous of Caitlyn's skills, her record-breaking success, and her financial earning. This kind of professional envy creates a really dangerous situation, suggesting that personal feelings could be influencing major team decisions. If your head coach resents your team's biggest star, that is not a good formula for team chemistry or success. An environment like that is just begging for conflict and sabotage, which would ultimately destroy the entire program and create an atmosphere of total distrust. The hard data tells a very clear story about Clark's economic power. Viewership for Fever Games dropped by a massive 51 to 52% right after it was confirmed she was left off the initial Olympic roster. That's not a theory, it was a measurable, statistical hit to the sport's visibility and income. The numbers do not lie. Her presence directly translates to viewers and engagement, and when she's not there, it causes a huge decline. To ignore these undeniable economic facts isn't just dumb, it's a direct attack on the financial health and future of women's basketball. Leaving the most popular female athlete in the world off your official promotional poster isn't just an interesting marketing decision. It is a catastrophic failure. It shows a profound lack of understanding of basic marketing, and a shocking disregard for what actually gets people to watch and care about the sport. In a time when star power is everything, actively hiding your biggest star is an act of self-sabotage. It makes fans wonder if the people in charge are simply incompetent, or if there is a darker, more entrenched resistance happening inside the organization itself. The frustration really just boils down to one simple question: what in the world are we doing here? The path to unbelievable success for women's basketball is so obvious. Embrace Caitlin Clark, put her front and center, and use her unmatched popularity to lift everyone up. Instead, USA Basketball seems to be deliberately taking an easy slam dunk and bouncing it off the rim. This pattern of bad judgment, self-sabotage, and what looks like internal jealousy is completely baffling to everyone watching. It reveals an organization that seems to be actively working against its own best interests, which is stunning the fans and making many of them question if the organization is truly committed to growing the sport. The message to USA Basketball is simple and direct. If they fail to put Caitlin Clark on the final roster for future events, the world is going to explode. That's not an exaggeration, it's a prediction of a massive backlash that will make all previous controversies look tiny. It would mean that absolutely nothing has changed, despite all the clear statistical and analytical proof of her impact. This would represent a complete and total failure to adapt, to listen, and to actually nurture the sport's incredible potential. The consequences for women's basketball could be permanent, forever damaged by this baffling and stubborn resistance.